Welcome to the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, Anders Carlson. I was going to not say my last name for some reason. I don't know. I decided against it.
It's too informal.
Yeah, this is a serious show. And we've also got Andrew. What's your middle name?
Middle name?
Which Andrew? Yeah.
Whoever.
Joseph. My middle name is Joseph.
Andrew Joseph Fisher. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Anders. Thank you, Anders Carlson.
Anders Soren Carlson.
Anders Soren Carlson. That's a cool name. I feel like
Thank you.
Your name has to be more rare than Andrew Fisher.
Right. Oh my God. But
Anders Carlson? That can't be. Anyone who has the last name Carlson can't be that unique.
That's true. Especially if you're in Sweden. Yeah. I bet my name is very common in Sweden.
Yeah.
Or Norway or one of those places. Andrew Joseph. And we've got other Andrew. What's your middle name?
My middle name is Bartram.
Holy
Whoa.
shit.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's my mom's maiden name.
Oh, Bartram. Okay. Bart. Did you ever consider going by Bart?
Hell no.
That sounds like, with my middle name, I'm technically an AJ. And sometimes teachers or stuff would go to my parents and be like, oh, he's an AJ. Have you ever considered calling him AJ? And my parents were always violently absolutely not. Do not call our son that.
Hey, AJ, you would not be sitting here right now. You'd be a totally different guy. You'd be a
I know, right?
pro football player or something.
Yeah.
AJ Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Evan's not here tonight because he's on vacation. Is he away from this state, or is he just
No, I don't think so. I think he's just hanging out at home, playing games, hanging out with his daughter.
Conveniently took today off, huh?
Well, he's been working.
Yeah,
he's been working really hard. We all have, but he's. Yeah. I think especially for these past few months, he's been putting plenty of time in on the weekends and stuff. So,
yeah, he deserves it.
The bulk of his work is done.
Wow.
For the moment. So yeah,
that's insane.
Little break.
It's really insane. So much. Well, we've got a good show. We've got all the usual stuff, but we've also got something pretty special coming up. So stay tuned. Should we tell them now or let them be surprised?
Let's wait. Yeah.
Okay. There's something good coming up. So keep listening.
I wonder how many. It sounds fake.
I wonder how many people. I wonder how many people will listen to the beginning of the show and would drop off at that point. Probably none. If you're into this show, you're listening to the whole thing, no matter what.
Yeah.
Teasers are no. But let's get into some listener questions, and the first one is not a question but a statement. It's from F Pearson. In regards to the big dump, for work, I am a waste management engineer. That was the title of our last episode, by the way. In regards to the big dump,
in regards to the big dump, we'd been talking about landfills, and Andrew and I were both sharing half-remembered facts about landfills. So F. Pearson had a bit more info for us.
Okay. F. Pearson says, for work, I'm a waste management engineer. I do landfill design, and mostly focus on environmental impacts of landfills. So I would say you mostly got it right in the podcast. Some details I would clarify, but generalities for most landfills, you got about right. Nice one, Andrew. The word you were looking for, the garbage juice that leaks out, is leachate. Anyone look that
leachate.
up?
Oh yeah, we really should have looked up the pronunciation on this.
Leachate. 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 Wow. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, F. Pearson.
Yes, thank you. When I first started reading this question, I first became nervous that we screwed something up, and then as I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!"
Yeah.
But I love that he says both that we mostly got it right, and that we got about landfills, we got about right. So
it's about right. It's
at least we weren't horribly wrong
Right.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did
the
look.
word
I did look up landfills after the episode just to make sure that I wasn't crazy, and then I saw leachate as well. It's like, that's right, that's what it was called.
the leachate, the garbage juice. Why
Yeah,
don't they just call it garbage juice? Are there some good photos of landfills online? I want to look them up now.
there are good photos of landfills online,
Yeah, like
and kind of
diagrams and stuff.
cross sections of them too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was telling people about landfills the past couple weeks. That that blew my mind.
Yeah, did you blow other people's minds with your new
Yeah,
knowledge?
they're like, oh, I thought landfill was just like a dump. You know,
Nice.
that's what Big Dump wants you to believe. I don't know. Okay, our next question comes from Martin on YouTube. Question for you all. First of all, how are your mouths? Ooh, I like that. Callback. My mouth.
That is a callback.
My mouth currently tastes like tuna fish because I had tuna melts for dinner.
I am
Sounds
the hot sauce that generated the "How are your mouths?" question is going to make a comeback. Sam's back from Tanzania, so we're going to force her to eat all the hot sauces. So,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you're gonna do the hot ones challenge, weren't you?
yeah, that's what I did back then. Yeah,
Oh,
all
yeah,
all
right.
10 hot ones sauces, and but Sam was in Tanzania at the time, so we're going to do it again here. And I'll probably, you know, because Misery loves company, I'll join her again and do it. So.
oh, you were,
Yeah.
we're just gonna. She was just gonna do it by herself.
Well, I mean, obviously not. I wasn't going to let her do that. I think also the people who bought the sauces, Josh and Lynn Ellis, are probably going to join us as well. So it'll be a party.
That
Nice.
sounds like a party. Are you gonna get any of
I'm.
those? Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to talk about how my mouth was.
yeah. I want to know that. What I was gonna say was not important. We need to know about your mouth.
I'm drinking hot water and lemon juice, so
Ooh,
my mouth is kind of tart at the moment,
you having a
a little
cold?
puckered. No, I beginning of this year, I went through like a drinking lemon juice regimen
Yeah.
that I just felt compelled to do, and I felt really good afterwards. And I just got to a point eventually, about I don't know, maybe 2 months in, where I made myself my lemon water in the morning, and then
Yeah.
started drinking it, and then my body was like, I just started to feel like I was going to throw up. I was like, all right, well, I think I'm done with lemon juice for now.
Oh.
So I think I just want to just rebalance the internal mechanisms a little bit, a little chemistry going on inside my body,
Uh-huh.
and lemon juice is good for you.
The hot. I like that. The lemon tea. I used to do that too. It's good stuff. What do you do? Like a half a
Yeah. lemon
in there or full?
Yeah, it's a
lemon?
half a lemon. Yeah, just a half a lemon. It's
I'm gonna
delicious.
do that. Everyone at home, try that. It's worth your time.
Yeah, if it's a little too tart, you can always put a little honey in there.
Ooh, a little honey, a little whiskey, and then you got yourself a
Sure.
hot toddy.
There you go. Yeah, that's really good for you.
That is when I'm sick.
Yeah.
Drink some alcohol. All right, Martin, let's get back to it. Okay, thank you for asking about our mouths. We appreciate it. Secondly, the setting is a very apocalypse optimistic, definitely a vision of a future that I would prefer if I could decide what happens next on planet Earth. What is your favorite depiction of apocalypse in a pessimistic way in media/fiction? My favorite example would be perhaps considered a spoiler for the Hyperion Cantos series of books by Dan Simmons, but it involves entire planets being shut off from the vast amount of resources they need. This can also double as an audiobook recommendation, as the series has a great narrator.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard of these.
Yeah, I haven't read those books.
yeah,
I'll
me
check
either.
those out.
Well, the apocalypse in a pessimistic way is kind of the common one. I think it's kind of cool that you guys are doing the apocalypse optimistic version.
Yeah,
Do you guys have any
yeah. There's
answers
definitely
to that?
there's definitely a lot of pessimistic settings out there. I mean, like, I think the apocalypse is kind of this great simplifier that allows you to examine things about human nature, and so it gets
Mhm.
taken to this dark place often.
Mhm.
I was kind of trying to think, there's different angles to come at this from, like whether you're looking at it as like your favorite setting for setting's sake, or your favorite like story in a post-apocalyptic pessimistic setting.
Right, because none of them are really seem like a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Right, is that what you mean?
Yeah, the answer I kind of chose after reading this question, I don't actually know if it fully fulfills the pessimistic angle. It can kind of be argued both ways, but I think that ambiguity is part of what I like so much about it. So I'm going to pitch it anyway. I forget if I've talked about this book on this show before, but it's a book called A Canticle for Leibowitz.
Yes, you have.
Okay. Yeah. So in some previous episode, so I'm sorry for people who have listened to that before, but it is a post-apocalyptic book that kind of follows specifically this monastery who is collecting artifacts from the past world that is our world, and they all kind of like worship Saint Leibowitz, who was actually like this electric engineer, and they like have all these artifacts from him, and they're making like illuminated manuscripts, except they're just of his like electrical engineering drawings. And then it kind of goes on from there to explore kind of these themes of religion versus state, and like the cyclical nature of like history and humanity. And it's a very interesting setting that I won't spoil, but it's like, it could be argued to not necessarily be super pessimistic, but it's definitely more pessimistic than Earthborne. And I think the story does so many interesting things with like the setting and interesting new ideas that I would say it's my favorite.
Cool. Do you have one?
Do you have
Andrew?
a favorite, Anders?
I'm thinking. I don't. I mean, I like The Road. I like Mad Max. I like Mad Max Fury Road. I like the ones with the word road in the title, apparently. I like Mad Max. I just think it's a good movie, Fury Road.
Oh, yeah, it's such a good movie.
Awesome.
I've seen it quite a few times now, and I haven't seen the like silver one. Have you know what I'm talking about? Like,
no,
they put it out in like black and white. Apparently, that's like the way he wanted it initially. It looks
really?
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Interesting. You just change your color settings on your TV.
I know.
Does that work?
Desaturate your television.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of good. I like that as a setting for a story. So I like them all. You know, Children of Men. That was a good one. That was an interesting.
Ooh, yeah, Children of Men is that's a good movie.
It's kind of like more in the middle of the apocalypse.
Right.
Say.
It's like right
that's true.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting conceit.
And there is a seed of hope in Children of Men.
Right at the end, there's the one. Isn't a baby born in the end?
Yeah, like they have a baby through most of the movie that they're kind of trying to keep safe and alive.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Just juxtaposed against The Road and Fury Road, which have very little hope at all.
Oh, and this one, I don't know if it holds up. I don't know if it's not PC anymore. But I thought when it came out, This Is the End. Did you ever see that one with Seth Rogen?
Oh, I loved that movie. That was hilarious.
So funny. Yeah.
I mean, it's intentionally not PC. That's the whole point.
Right. Sometimes. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Jonah Hill's character is great in there.
Yeah, that movie is really funny. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I only watched it the one time, but I had a good time with it. It's pretty dumb.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Movie. So funny though. How about you? What did any come to mind for you, Andrew?
Yeah, well, I put on my Fallout T-shirt in honor of this question.
Is that why?
Fallout,
yeah.
But Fallout is not my favorite post-apocalyptic setting. I've had a lot of fun playing Fallout. I think it's interesting though, like considering the word pessimistic in this question, because I feel like in post-apocalyptic settings, I think usually the interesting stories focus around finding hope in general hopelessness.
That's true.
People persevering. So I don't know if I really am aware of any post-apocalyptic settings that are just like so bleak that there's no hope at all, where it is entirely pessimistic. I would say probably the one book that I've read relatively recently that was recommended to me by former coworker Alex Davey was Wind Up Girl. which is takes place in the not too distant future when there's these massive food shortages, and it's very dark because it's feels very rooted in reality. And kind of the general thrust is there's these big corporations that own patents on every possible food that you could get, every grain, every seed, almost in the entire world, and they're constantly re-engineering those seeds annually to stay ahead of a blight that will eventually consume everything. That's a pretty pessimistic book, I would say. It's pretty bleak. I did not feel very good at the end of that one. But I think my favorite post-apocalyptic setting, and again, I don't know if it qualifies because there's no clear apocalypse, but I really love the Book of the New Sun series by Gene Wolfe. It takes place, it's almost like a prelude to an apocalypse in a way, because it takes place in the far, far, far future where the sun is dying. So the sun has like a reddish hue to it, and the sky is purple, and everyone lives in this world where technology is effectively seen as magic, and has a kind of a similar vibe to like the Canticle for Leibowitz, where there's technology that people don't understand, and it's revered in some places, but also has like aliens and stuff, and weird creatures. That series is phenomenal. I highly recommend it. And the ending of it is still, I think, one of my favorite endings.
And what's it called again?
Novel in all times. It's the Book of the New Sun is the series. Okay. It's 4 books. It's collected into 2 volumes right now. I think you can get. I've talked about it before on other podcasts. I may have talked about it on this podcast.
Highly likely.
But yeah, it's really good. I like it a lot. You should read it.
All right. I will. Probably not.
That was a you to whoever is listening.
Yeah.
read those books. They're very good.
Another way to look at it would be the dystopia versus utopia, right? Would you call Earthborne? No. Would you call that a utopia future?
It definitely has utopian themes. Everything's not perfect all the time, though. Everything's just
nicer than now.
Nicer, yeah. People get along better, so it's
there's definitely there's definitely like a decent amount of conflict and issues, but like people's intentions are always kind of in the right place, right? It's not the kind of setting where you're going to have like the evil villain who's set just to like destroy things for some reason, right? But you may have people who fundamentally disagree on how to approach a problem, and you're going to be dealing with all sorts of issues created by the past. So in many ways it's not necessarily utopian, but it's definitely more optimistic.
Yeah, if there were a needle between dystopia and utopia, definitely leaning much farther toward utopia.
Yeah.
Are there bad people in this world? Marauders and raiders and thieves?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to live in Earthborne.
Yeah, I know. I think that's the I think that's the biggest kind of from a modern perspective where you have to kind of suspend your disbelief the most.
Oh yeah.
It's a world where, if you could imagine, and I've said this before. I don't remember if I've said this on the podcast, but I'll say it again. It's a world where when you encounter a stranger, when you're walking down the street, like it could be like a dark alley or something, in the darkness, you find something, like someone approaches you, instead of like having that instant pang of like, is this person all right? And getting scared. You feel happy to see someone, and you can trust them because you're all in it together.
Wow.
And I think that'd be pretty awesome if that's how we treated each other.
I want that to exist in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to put it out there so we can maybe help create that sometime down the road.
Yeah. Great. All right. Let's move on to this question from Quacks. Uh, Quacks says, I would like to hear more about the nitty gritty in TTS development and what features you're thinking about taking advantage of.
Yeah, well, I don't know how nitty gritty we can get for you. Mostly because, as I think I mentioned in a past podcast, I personally am not like a tabletop simulator workshop expert. Um, I've kind of used TTS as I've needed to, but I greatly prefer playing games physically in person. So we've done a little bit of work on TTS, but ultimately, for if we do a like paid workshop at launch, I'm likely going to be hiring somebody who knows more than I do to finish it out for us and get everything in place. That being said, I can talk a little bit about things we've looked at using. Oops, bumping my mic. I can talk a little bit about things we've been looking at using and just based on my own knowledge. So some of the stuff we've been looking at are the common things you see in a lot of tabletop simulator mods, like snap points for all the kind of fixed locations of cards on the board so that the cards just automatically snap into them. And looking at doing some pretty basic kind of Lua scripting for some basic actions that you do a lot. One very common one is refilling your energy tokens at the beginning of each new round. We have energy tokens for each of your 4 aspects, and you kind of spend those to do things in the game, and you have to refill them every round. And it's just kind of fiddly in tabletop simulator, like click and drag them. And I'd love just like a button that lets you just refill them. And I've looked up some other people who have done similar things, and I think it's pretty possible. I have a little bit of knowledge in Lua scripting from making World of Warcraft add-ons back in the day, but so I think I might be able to handle that. But that, again, we might hand that to whoever we get to polish up the mod for us. One thing actually that one of our designers turned me on to is this add-on called memory bags, which are very cool. So they're a add-on you can get through the workshop and then load into any of your kind of game environments. And they're just like a bag in Tabletop Simulator, in that they can hold components, but they can hold components in a very like a bunch of components, all their positions on the board. And then you can kind of load them in, and they all get collapsed into the bag. And then when you click a button, they all get expanded out of the bag back into their exact locations on the board. And so this is really handy because you can, like, if you have like a scenario based game, you can set up a scenario and then collapse it into that memory bag, and then players can just click the memory bag and it just automatically lays out that scenario for them. The way we'll likely use it, because our setups are usually a little more organic than that, one of the big ways we'll probably use it is like all your character creation, to have all the cards, the different options for creating your decks laid out. You know, we can lay them out in this nice big open spread that takes up your whole table, and then load it into a memory bag. And so you can just open the memory bags for the character creation options you want. It gives you all the card options. You can build your deck and then collapse them back in. So I definitely want to explore using that feature. We might even do that in the demo, though, since the demo is likely going to be using pre-made decks. I don't know how much use we'll get out of memory bags. We'll see. But I can't take credit for knowing about memory bags. The credit goes to Davi. Like I said, he's working on some cards for us and was one of our play testers as well, and knows Tabletop Simulator a lot better than I do. So thank you. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say on the topic.
Well, hopefully
we shall see.
Yeah, hopefully if we get someone to who knows what they're doing, they'll have suggestions and ideas for ways of improving it,
Absolutely,
making the experience better. So
nice. Okay, our next question comes from Darren via email. At which events are y'all planning on having a presence during the lead up to release? I'd love to treat Earthborne Games team to dinner if you'll be at PAX Unplugged. Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. I'd take them up on dinner.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So PAX Unplugged is in November, right? Is that
December 2nd?
December 2nd. Yeah, so we won't be at PAX Unplugged this year. I've felt from the beginning that whenever we start showing up at conventions, I wanted to be able to have actual copies of the game in our possession.
Yeah.
And there was a time, obviously, when I hoped that we'd have it by this fall, and that didn't work out. So next year we'll be at places, and I think we'll start looking at options. Knowing there's a free dinner, PAX Unplugged might be at the top of the list. It was already on my list, my mental list before, so I think that'd be really, really fun. I'd like to go to smaller shows like that. That's my preference, as opposed to like going to something like Gen Con, which I have some interest in going, but not a ton. So I think maybe finding some smaller conventions that could be interesting to go to that are not too far away from us would be cool. Going to PAX Unplugged would be cool. Going to Shut Up and Sit Down Expo, I think, could be neat. Devi was there this past weekend and had his prototype of Earthborne Rangers there. So maybe if you were at Shucks, you had an opportunity to see it in action. That was pretty cool. He sent a photo and looked great. So yeah, stay tuned. But in the lead up, the Essen spiel is going on right now. So the day this posts will be the second day of Essen. So if anyone's in Germany, you can go and check out the German version of the game at Frosted Games booth. And then, like I mentioned last time, we'll have the game also at Luca Comics and Games in Italy. So those are the two conventions leading up to release where we'll have a presence, and the rest will be after the game's out and we have physical copies and can actually show off the game and maybe sell some if we still have copies available.
So at this German thing, is it like the final printed game?
No, it's a prototype, and it's printed on this essentially he did it print on demand, and the cards they ordered were a little too small.
Okay,
so they're a little too short and a little too narrow. Okay. And the corners of the cards are really round. They're like maybe 7 millimeter rounded corners that they look almost like ovals.
What?
But yeah, that's an exaggeration. But they're very rounded. Yeah. So if you get a chance to check it out, just keep that in mind. But they look beautiful. The art looks fantastic. The graphic design looks great. The printing turned out really, really, really well. So everything except for the cut of the cards looks almost final. I don't know how it feels. Obviously, I was just looking at photos, but it looked really nice. So yeah, we'll have the entire game there. So spoiler warnings if you flip through the cards. Everything will be there. So you just get a sense of everything that'll come in the package. So that's really cool. And then you can just flip through and look at the cool art.
Essenspiel, right?
Yeah.
If you go to Essenspiel, let us know what you thought.
Yeah, and one of the features of the convention demo copies having everything in it is this is one of our only demos ahead of a release where you'll be able to go anywhere you want, explore anything you want. So for anybody there who gets the chance to demo it, I challenge you to try to get as far as you can in the valley in the scope of your demo, because you can go wherever you want. So let me know if you play, and let me know how far you get, how deep you get into the valley.
Yeah, well, I really, we've talked about this a lot, and when we were trying to come up with the demo experience for the game, because it demoed this past summer at I think Berlin Con, I think is where it showed up. And it was a really, really small portion of the game. It had, I think, 3 locations you could travel to, maybe 2 path sets. Really not much to do. And the feedback from players that was passed along to me from that was that it was kind of boring. and it sounded kind of boring based on how much you could actually do. And I think demoing this game, I think, is really difficult because it's so big and there's so much nuance to it that it's almost like trying to demo a tabletop role playing game. So yeah, you really you can't really demo a tabletop role playing game Well, you could do like maybe a one system and get into combat or something and do that like in half an hour. But you're not going to leave a half an hour demo of Dungeons and Dragons with a good idea of how to play Dungeons and Dragons, right? So I feel
Oh, totally.
kind of the same way about our game, where it's just a long and thoughtful game, and the core of it is exploration and taking your time. So it doesn't. So I'll be interested to see how the demo goes. I think Fisher did a good job of kind of setting the stage where people can go in and do something and accomplish a goal. But we wanted to make sure that if you wanted to just play the game as we want you to play it, that and they don't kick you out of the booth for playing the demo for too long, that you had the opportunity to do that. So we'll see if this one plays better or is better received. I hope so.
I'm sure it will be. Obviously, it will be. Okay, cool. The next thing is in response to the title of our last episode again. It's from Dexter345, and they say, sadly, it's not called Big Dump because there was a big dump of card images. It's called that because they were talking about a large pile of trash. And more specifically, we're talking about the giant dump industry, referring to that as Big Dump. Just to be clear, such as big pharma. Okay, speaking of which, Andrew.
Yeah.
Actually might have a big dump for us.
That's right.
This is our big surprise.
Let me work it up.
Yeah, so basically, we saw people looking at when we posted the episode, and people were like, "Oh, it's called Big Dump. We're getting a big dump of content." And then I immediately jumped to the staff Discord, and I was like, "Oh no, there's not a big dump of content. It was just a joke." But we felt a little bad. So this week, we are going to give you a big dump of content, and we are going to share a bit of the game with you all.
Yeah, hold on here. So it looks like so I'm trying to share my screen. It looks like I'm going to have to share my entire screen in order to do this because it's not coming up as a window. So I'm going to jump into the Tabletop Simulator. I can get Steam on here, but Tabletop Simulator is not coming up. Let's see. I think probably because it's not windowed, because it's just a full screen thing. So let me close some things that I don't want to share, and then
to fill the time,
do a little dance for a little while.
You mentioned Steam, and I pulled the trigger, and I'm getting Steam Deck tomorrow. It's coming.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's showing up tomorrow?
Yes.
Dang. I'll be curious to hear how it goes. It seems very cool. Like basically PC games a la like in the same form factor as the Switch seems very good to me.
Right, I know. It looks awesome. I've been a big fan of Steam for a long time. So yeah, it is mixed, it's kind of mixed what people have said about it, but I think overall people love it. I hope I do too.
Does it?
Well, especially for a lot of the kind of like indie games and stuff that you play, a lot of them aren't that graphically demanding, right? It's not like you're playing some ray tracing monster of a game.
I kind of was hoping that maybe it would allow me to try some of those, Like
I saw that Control runs on it and stuff. So.
Yeah, just like lowered, and I was going to try Elden Ring too. Finally, I thought that'd be a good.
Ooh,
place.
yeah.
Oh man, no, do it.
It's not letting you share your screen.
Yeah, maybe there's something with the way Tabletop Simulator is set up where it's just like, nah, you can't stream it this way. We got to do it a different way.
Oh,
you can't just share your whole screen and then.
No, it doesn't even give me the option.
In Riverside?
Wait, no, here we go. Got it. It's weird. So it has the entire screen on here, but you have to actually select the screen and then share it, even though there's only one screen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
A little UI comment there for the fine people at Riverside. All right, so let me know if this comes through.
There it
See that?
is. Yep, we see
Yep.
it.
Got it?
We can see it all.
All right.
Wow. That's
So
pretty
yeah,
cool.
here's the big wide view. You can see our game here. So let me.
For those listening to the podcast, we're just looking at tabletop simulator of
I'll go over
the
here.
game.
I'll go over
Looks
here
so
to
cool.
the map for a little while to do my little setup. So I wanted to talk about the different. So I'm going to share some cards, but do that through in the context of talking about the different art styles in the game, which has been a little bit of a topic of conversation in the Discord that we haven't really chimed in on too much yet. But and I'm planning on also doing a blog post about this. It was originally I was planning on doing it for the Kickstarter update for this month, but I ran out of time and I've been really busy, so I did a really short update and I didn't do any fun previews or anything this month. So I apologize if anyone was looking forward to that. I wanted to do it, but it was going to take me too long and I had too many other things to do. So I wanted to keep it short and sweet. But I'll give you the rough draft of that blog post tonight and talk about how we're using artwork in Earthborne Rangers to help improve gameplay. And
Cool.
it's something that kind of came about throughout development. I'd had thoughts on it at the very beginning, but the number of card types that we have in the game increased from when we did the Kickstarter to now. So originally we just had two, like for the Ranger cards in particular, we had just two card types for Ranger cards. We had gear and we had moments, and that was it. But then throughout development, we realized, we really should have a card type that was an attachment, because we'd have gear that would attach to things, and we had all these rules that had to be in every text box to say, take this gear and attach it so-and-so. And then we also had our personality cards, which began their lives as moments, but then didn't behave like moments. So we ended up changing those to being their own card types. So those are attributes. So at the beginning, I had this idea to do a different art style for the moments than for the gear. And we wanted the moments to be kind of this more, something that was a little bit more ephemeral, and I think Evan's talked about this on the podcast, where we wanted it to be not as literal as like a sorcery or an instant in something like Magic, where it was like we were fully painting a scene. We wanted to keep it almost like almost like how a memory might appear in your mind, where it wasn't necessarily exactly a one-to-one representation of what's happening, but more of a capturing the feeling of that moment more so than an image of it. And this doing different art styles for different card types was something that I first explored when we were working on Android Netrunner, where in that game we had two different realities really that we were trying to represent. We had the what we called meat space, which was the real world where people walked around and did things. Then we had cyberspace, which is where you saw the manifestations of programs depicted in artwork. And when we first started working on that game, I really wanted to do the abstracts for that and have just weird shapes and all sorts of colors and kaleidoscope imagery and all sorts of banana stuff. And we did some of that. Ultimately, I think I really like where it landed, where it was a little bit more figurative, but very colorful, and like all the things in those illustrations for cyberspace were kind of like built of light, and that was really fun. I think it was really when you were playing the game, I think it really helped inform the theme, especially when you had your your program sitting out in front of you as the runner, or you had the ice in front of you as the corporation, and seeing those programs, I think really created this sense of you being in this kind of digital dreamscape, which I thought was really cool. And that was juxtaposed against the more realistic, real world objects that were also out there in different play zones of your on the table. And I thought it was really effective and it helped to really inform the theme. So I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit more. But I also wanted to, through the art, really try to designate different card types by their artwork. And that was something that I'd never really done before to the degree that we're doing it in Earthborne Rangers. And all of the LCGs that we worked on at FFG, where I was either a graphic designer or the one who's like ultimately responsible for the look of the various card frames and things for all the different card types in those games. Our philosophy was to change the graphic design around the artwork instead of the artwork itself, where each card based on its type would have the various elements of it in different places on the card. So in some cards, the title would be up at the top, the cost would be at the upper left, and then you'd have the traditional setup, and then have the text at the bottom. But then other times we'd take that title bar and we'd put it on the left, and then we'd move the cost down, and then some we'd move the text box up, and then put the title bar underneath the text box, and then the art underneath that. And we'd move things around all over the place, but the artwork mostly stay the same. And I think that, in my opinion, that that mostly works for things like in the encounter deck, like in Arkham and stuff, where you don't have to be looking through a hand of cards. But I think at least once in the process, in working on things like like Warhammer Conquest or Game of Thrones or Marvel Champions or Arkham Horror, working on those player cards, there's always a time when someone in the room, sometimes it was me, would just say, can't we just do it the way that Magic does it? Like, no one seems confused. You just, you have the frame with the template, you have the title of the card, and it just says what type of card it is in a little text box. And it seems to work all right for them. That would be nice, because that would save us a lot of time. But that was never the way we went. And I think ultimately maybe it doesn't matter a whole lot. And I think it, obviously Magic's super successful. A lot of those LCGs were successful. It didn't really get in the way of it. But I feel like we did get some complaints from players about fanning their cards and not being able to see all the things in all the places at the same time. Do you remember that, Fisher? I remember that being something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was one of those players who complained about it. I was very vocal about wanting all my titles on the same place on all my cards.
Yeah. So since Fisher and I feel that way about wanting to be able to easily tell what's in your hand and what you can do with that, we decided to not change the graphic design template for the Ranger cards in particular, so that all that information would always be in the same spot every time. But to help with the identification of cards in your hand, I wanted to change up the art styles. So that's what I'll talk about here. So I'll start with the Ranger cards. So I brought out a little array of cards here to share. So anything that sits in the field of play and is front and center is figurative. So that goes with the path. That goes for the path cards. I picked a couple of yours here, Anders, to share.
Ooh,
which you've seen before, but you can see them in their more final
form.
form.
That's awesome.
So there are a couple different path cards. There's beings, there's features. The template's the same. I didn't feel like there was a need to really change anything up here as far as art style goes, because I wanted the things in play to be like you might find them in the world. So anything that is sitting on the table, be those path cards or be that gear or companions, that's going to look like what you might expect to see, like a fully fleshed out piece of art, or like more standard are the style we've created. So that goes for our little Pokoto the ferret here. Here's a companion. This is a path card that you can play from the Ranger deck, and then we also have the hidden trail here. This is another path card.
Go back to Pokoto, and I'm gonna read it out for people who are just listening.
Oh,
here.
sure.
So Pokoto here is Pokoto the ferret. He's a 2-spirit card. He's a being, a companion. So these are cards from your Ranger deck, but they go into play like the beings you might find in a Path deck. But they are beings that you have brought with you or connected with in some way. So Pokoto here is friendly, persistent, and unique. And you can exhaust him to discard 1 progress from the being, to add 1 token to an aid card, and 2 progress to another being.
Yeah, pretty good card.
Pokoto's very good.
Yeah, you can connect with Pokoto and then spread that progress out. And then we have the Hidden Trail.
Yeah, so Hidden Trail is another, it's a feature that goes into play much like Pokoto does. It's a feature trail. It has a response on it that when you travel, if this trail is attached to the location, travel to a location up to 2 paths away. Use the terrain of the second path when building the path deck. And then it has a clear effect where you can attach it to the clear from progress to attach this trail to the location. So basically, if you go down this hidden trail, that you have this secret path in your Ranger deck, and if you put it into play and then you go down that trail, it'll allow you to travel farther than the basic rules of the game would allow. It's a pretty powerful ability. So it is a 3 focus card, which means you need to have 3 in your focus stat to run it, which means you're making some other sacrifices in your Ranger deck.
Yeah. And I'll take this opportunity to publicly thank you for letting these companions and these beings and features into Ranger decks, Fisher. I appreciate it. I know it was made things difficult.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, we got Oru the sheepdog out of it, and I'm pretty sure, having a dog card that you can pet was the highlight of the Kickstarter for most people. So worth it.
Yes. So these are so when you play these, these will be in these areas here. And I think Hidden Trail goes along the way. Right? Or does it go within reach?
All beings and features you play out of your deck go within reach.
All right, so they'll be up here. And then we have our gear. So the one I chose to share here is the wrist-mounted darter, which is one of the few weapons in the game. I think this design is really fun.
The wrist.
This is a Chris. Before you go on, I just want to say give credit to Chris Beck for this design. He did some really amazing stuff with the gear cards he worked on in particular, and I thought this one was phenomenal.
I love that it breaks out of the frame both above and below. A lot of our stuff will only pop out of the frame either above or below, but this one gets both, which is cool.
Yeah.
So for those listening, the wrist-mounted darter is a gear tech weapon, and it has for 2 fitness, and it has a test on it. You can test focus and conflict and use one of the darts from the darter to shoot one of the featherlight darts to add harm to a being equal to your effort. Whether you succeed or fail, dodge all cards between you and that being. So this card lets you, it is one of our weapons. So it lets you, it's one of the ways you can deal harm to beings in the valley. And dodging cards is a way to kind of temporarily avoid suffering the fatigue you would get from interacting kind of past a card that's in your way. So basically, because this is a ranged weapon, you're not you're not having to physically maneuver around these things. Instead, you can kind of shoot your darter from a distance.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have moments, which we've shared before. So this one I'm sharing is familiar ground. So this illustrates what I was talking about previously, where it's a scene, but the identity of the ranger isn't necessarily like obvious. What's happening is relatively clear, but it's got a cool like color effect, which Corey DeVore did all these. We should probably add him to the illustrator credits for these as well. But all of the moments have this awesome line work that Wayne O'Connor did, and then this kind of like color field effect that Corey added. And this is a style that we showed during the Kickstarter as the style of the personality cards.
Yeah, you kind of get this striking kind of silhouette effect. And to your point about making them a little less specific to one ranger, the silhouette kind of can abstract it. Well, we do show some rangers in these scenes. It's easier, I think, to project yourself onto these cards than it would be if they like were fully illustrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also liked not having to. You'll see some repeated silhouettes and stuff, but and designs of some of the rangers. But I liked doing it this way. I think it made it so we didn't have this like random group of NPC rangers that aren't you in a lot of pieces. It just seemed weird to me to almost kind of immersion breaking, I think. From my perspective anyway, to have like fully realized characters in these pieces.
Yeah, so the card we're looking at for those on Spotify or wherever else is called Familiar Ground. It's a moment that lets you add 1 harm to a flora to add 3 progress to a trail. So this is a forager card that can use the different plants of the valley to your advantage.
Yes. And then the next one I'm going to share here are our attachments. And I don't know if we've shared any of these yet.
No.
So attachment cards, if anyone's familiar with the role-playing game Genesis that we did while we were at FFG, the art in those books, I wanted to do something very similar to this, where it was like a technical drawing with just a few accent colors. But we tried to keep the accent colors generally the same throughout all those illustrations. Here, what I wanted to do is create a piece where we had a kind of a technical drawing feeling for the bulk of the illustration, but then whatever the card was describing would then be colored, so it would kind of leap out of the composition. So here, this is universal power cells.
Yeah, it's an attachment for 1 focus. You can attach it to a ranger's equipped tech, and when you play it, it adds 3 tokens to the attached piece of gear. And there's a response when this card becomes unattached. Discard 3 tokens from the attached gear. So this card might be familiar to those of you who played the demo during the Kickstarter. It was there as well. It basically it's a battery. It adds extra charges to your card, but if for some reason it falls off, you lose those charges. The design is a little different to fit with our final templating of the game, but it is a card you saw during the demo.
Yeah. So, and I think, the reason why I wanted to have this kind of different look was, one, so if it was in your hand, obviously you can easily identify it. But then if it got bumped or something on the table, that you wouldn't be confused about what it was. So the intention is on these attachment cards is to place them, roughly like so that when it's in play, you don't really even get to see the art, because you're just going to be having the text there. So I didn't want that to conflict with the rest of the cards on the board.
It's also, I think it's fitting for attachments as well, because then you're not like confusing the attachment for the object it is attaching to in the art.
Right.
So like this illustration is a perfect example where the object, the universal power cells, the tech it's attaching to is in the art as well, but the tech is all done in this kind of sketchy style, and then only the power cells themselves are fully illustrated with color and everything. So it very clearly shows you what is the attachment and like what is it attaching to.
Yeah, and these were challenging too because not only these were the easiest ones, were the kind of more physical objects, but we also use attachments to convey skills and other more abstract ideas. And some of those illustrations were a little more challenging to do.
Some of those are like the sketch effect though is and like the color highlight is the coolest. I'm trying to remember which card it is, but there's one where like somebody's like, oh, I think it's surveyed land, and
Mm-hmm.
in the art he's like looking out over the landscape and only the tree is like colorful. That one is
Yeah.
very cool. I love that card every time I see that art.
Awesome. That's great. I'm glad you love it. That's one of the ones that I look at often and be like, man, I wish I did that better.
I like it. I think it looks really cool.
That's great. Well, that's the thing about art, right? Is like that, and I think is always great to hear when there's something that I personally like. I look at it and like wish it were better, but then I hear like from you that like it that you think is awesome. I had a similar experience with a friend of mine who got the Jinteki logo tattooed on his body, and like it looks cool, but I always go back to this conversation in my mind as I felt bad after saying it because I didn't want to make him feel bad. I didn't intend to, but I was like, yeah, I did that logo in about a half an hour.
Oh yeah,
because we had to do it really quick for like this promotional thing at Gen Con, and then for the Android board game, and then when we did Netrunner, it didn't really change at all. It stayed the same. So I always wished that I'd put a little more effort into it because it became the final logo, kind of unintentionally. So that's all I was saying, but I felt bad. So
no,
sorry.
He liked
sorry,
it
Tim,
enough
if you're
to
listening.
tattoo it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last Ranger card type I have to show here is is one of the personality cards, which we've changed to attributes. So we decided to change these very at the end, really, when Fisher and I were finishing up work on the rule book, and I'd done my read through and came back and I said, reading this, I really feel like we should, because we talked about it before. I was like, I feel like we really should change the card type from moment because they don't really behave like moments. And
so we have moments in the game. You play energy to play this card. You pay energy to play this card, and then it has some kind of rules effect that goes into effect. All of the personality cards, as well as some other cards like them, don't have costs at all and can only be used to discard for their approach icons during tests. So they can't be played like a normal moment. So we had them riding on the moment card type. And it was just weird and required some like exceptions in the rules. And so making them their own card type ended up making the most sense.
Yeah.
To keep the rules simple.
And then the benefit of that was we got to get yet another art style in play here, which was the the style that we ended up going with ultimately for the campaign expansion, which we then retrofitted onto the cover. Which, if you want to check out, it's on the website if you hadn't had a chance to check it out yet. But Evan did all these really awesome, cool little, just gorgeous kind of storybook illustrations that I think are incredibly evocative, and did one for each aspect type. So all of these will be this. So there's there's 4 different personalities for each aspect, and each one will have the same piece on it to help with identification. And these will also be some of the first cards that you end up replacing in your deck when you're upgrading with the various rewards you'll get.
Yeah, so we're looking at one of our personalities here, Perceptive. it's an attribute card, as we've been discussing, and it can contribute one exploration approach icon to a test. And after you succeeded at a test in which you can commit this attribute, you gain 1 awareness energy. So a lot of these different personalities either give you more approach icons than you might get from other starting cards, or they'll have some kind of rider effect that when you commit these to a test, it adds that effect to the test or modifies that test in some way.
Yep, very, very handy, especially early on. And then I wanted to go up here to the other cards, the cards that you'll be exploring, and that will sit in the play area to show the last couple styles. So I already talked about the 2 different like path card styles, the beings and the features. We also have the locations, which everyone knows. They're set in a landscape format, which I think is a good way to kind of make them the centerpiece of the play area. Then we have our mission cards, which are all very simple. We wanted to keep these as basic as possible. They're really easy to identify in your collection, which I think is extremely helpful. They're all double-sided. So this one is Journey on both sides. You have Helping Hand here, which is also on both sides. But some of our missions have different stages that the card will flip when you accomplish one side, and some of them will also like Helping Hand will attach to beings in play. So it's nice to have this kind of a presentation here where the mission card really stands out from the card that's in play. I think it really helps inform your decision making, so it doesn't kind of clutter up your brain. And then the last cards we have are the weather cards, and there's 4 of these weather cards in the core set. The one I'm sharing here is Howling Winds, which I don't think we've shared to this point, so this might be new to people.
Yeah, so Howling Winds weather card. When you're setting up when you arrive at a location, you search the general set for the Cerberusian Cyclone. Did I pronounce that right, Andrew?
Yeah, sure. That's a word I made up.
Shuffle it into the path deck. There's an extra path card that represents this weather that gets shuffled in during the refresh. So at the end of each round, if there's a certain amount of wind on this card, the lead ranger draws 1 additional path card this turn, then flips this card. And then there's a challenge effect to add 2 winds to this card. You may suffer fatigue to add 1 less wind for each fatigue suffered this way. So you can kind of battle against the wind by suffering fatigue when it gets added, or you can give in and add this wind. And as wind builds up on this card, if it reaches a certain threshold at the end of the round, you're going to get extra path cards, which can sometimes be good, but mostly is bad because the path deck has a lot of obstacles in it for you. So you're kind of like battling these winds, and you're deciding how much you want to battle the winds versus how much you want to try to walk with them.
Yeah, it's I think like the most quietly cruel weather that we have.
It's definitely our most difficult weather that gets given out. Oh yes, and on the back we have Thunderhead after it flips over. So Thunderhead has 2 different challenge effects on it. One removes a progress from each card in play, and the other one readies 1 predator or prey. And then at refresh, you flip this card back over to the winds. So I know a lot of you have not played much of the game yet because it's not out yet. This is absolutely ruthless. This is absolutely brutal. Removing a progress from every card in play on every on 1 in 3 challenge effects is just like nigh unplayable. And then it's also readying predators. So even if you manage to exhaust down these predators, they're getting back up. So as the lightning strikes and startles them. So there's a reason that this immediately flips back over. This is just ruthless. So this is why you're fighting that wind on the other side. You not only do you not want that extra path card, but you don't want to flip over to this awful side where you're under the Thunderhead, and it's just catastrophic for you. So when you're playing with this difficult weather in play, there's a lot of kind of like balancing of, timing, figuring out how much you want to battle the winds, how much fatigue you want to suffer, and then deciding when you're gonna give into the winds and like try to deal with the thunderhead for the rest of the round. And like there's kind of this balance and timing game that's layered over your play.
Yeah, it's like when the turns when the thunderhead is out, sometimes I just would not do very much.
just hunker down and
just hunker down, man.
Turn.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I really love where Evan landed with the design of these cards. I think
so cool.
Each one of them are just the graphic design is so lovely, and he ended up taking. I think this is maybe the third or fourth pass at them, and the extra time he spent on it, I think really paid off. So yeah, I love having these, also be their kind of their own style. Again, similar style to the mission cards, because these are the cards that sit here flanking the location, and they're kind of out of the way and they behave differently than the other cards in the game.
And I like them kind of being more this higher level abstraction, kind of like we talked about with the moments. You don't know what character that moment's going to be combined with, and what context it's going to be used in. So we kind of bring it to this layer of abstraction using these kind of silhouettes and stuff. And, the weather is this whole extra layer of abstraction where we have no idea where in the valley you are, what are you doing. Like, it's this. This card needs to apply to all these different situations. So we kind of bring it back to this even higher level of abstraction where it's kind of almost taking inspiration from like, weather icons. It's like this highly kind of abstract stylized version. And like, it is also up in the surroundings, kind of away from everything. It is, everything in the surroundings is representing a lot of this higher level abstract information you're dealing with. And so I like that the art kind of reflects that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it. That's my presentation on the artwork. So I hope you enjoyed it. And now I will flip the table.
I enjoyed it. Just flip it over. Is it? Oh, I did not know you could do that. Where
they're just so high up.
Where were we? Sitting in a tree. Well, that was
we were in the most nature. Yeah. We were in the most naturey background we could load into Tabletop Simulator, I think.
Yeah. Did you get to choose your elevation?
I don't think so.
No. It just like paints a skybox behind the table, basically.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty great. Thanks for sharing, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Gets me excited. Well, I mean, it's pretty clear what you guys have been working on. We just saw it. Do you want to speak about anything else, Fisher? Got any work stories?
Yeah, I don't have too much specific this week. I mean, we've been working on that for a long time. I don't know if specifically this week any of that, but I alluded last podcast to starting testing on our secret project, and it has begun, and testing is going pretty well. I can't say much more about that, but like I said before, feel free to reach out via our email if you're interested in testing on future projects.
Can I ask, is it connected to this game, or is it something new?
I'm not sure how much we want to talk about it.
I think we can say that it's not in the Earthborne setting. It is something new.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the rest of my time is spent on things that are in the Earthborne setting. We are working on new cards, new content for all sorts of stuff. Now that the game is kind of the core game is in kind of its final QA steps, we've been able to kind of get back on track with working on Legacy of the Ancestors and getting that ready for people. And then also working on some Devi is working on some Ranger cards, some new Ranger cards for that I won't talk more about right now. I was about to say I had to catch myself there, but yeah, we're working on some cool new Ranger cards for new options for people's decks. So it's been kind of nice, right now a lot of our core set files are out with our proofreaders, so they're kind of marking them up and they're kind of in that state, and it lets me kind of move on and look at some other things. And then once we get the files back from the proofreaders, I'll dive back into the core set and kind of polish that up. But right now it's kind of nice to send my brain into a different kind of more forward looking space, give it a break from staring at the core set files for a second before they come back. It's been nice.
Nice. How about you, Andrew?
I've been working on our pre-order store. So, like I mentioned last podcast, the plan was to have the pre-order store up by the end of this month. That did not happen. I ended up spending most of my time last week talking about emailing about manufacturing and stuff, and that's coming together. The finish line is in sight. I think we had a minor moment where I was kind of despondent at a limitation of the printer that I learned about kind of at the last minute and was worried, but then sent a couple emails back and forth, and it shouldn't be a problem at all. So that just happened today. So that was good. But I spent a lot of time last week, I feel like, working on stuff like that. But I'm working on the pre-order store. I'm doing all the data entry for all of that right now. And I think if everything goes according to plan, it should be up by the time this podcast posts. I just want to get everything done, check with BackerKit to make sure I didn't screw anything up, and then it should be ready to go, which is pretty exciting. We also updated our website. So that went up last week. And that's pretty cool. It's not completely done yet. We're going to change one thing on the homepage. We're going to try to get some pretty cool, like, animated stuff going on there. Our web developer has been traveling this past week, so I'm not sure when he's going to get a chance to do that. Hopefully it'll be soon. But on the website, it's pretty awesome because now it's more set up as a kind of like a blog format. So you can go there and find all of our podcasts, all of our video and audio for that. The pre-order store will be there. And then eventually we'll be putting blog posts there. So the kind of the updates that we've been doing through our Kickstarter updates, those little previews we've been doing, those will start living on the website. So when those Kickstarter updates go out, instead of it being all in that email, there'll be links back to the website if you want to read about the cool things we're doing and the various portions of the game that we want to highlight.
Yeah, we'll kind of keep the Kickstarter updates as just kind of like monthly recaps of everything we've posted in the last month, and links to the podcast episodes, the blog articles, any once we have printed copies of the game, any like influencers playing the game and stuff. We'll just put all the links so you have it all in one place if you want it. But if you want to get it live, check out the website.
That's right.
It looks great. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, and that's it. So yeah, doing some data entry. I was doing that today. I did a lot of it this on Monday, and then when I was reviewing my work today, I realized that I did a bunch of stuff wrong, so I had to redo it. But it's better to find that out now than after we launched the pre-order store. So the work I did yesterday was kind of lost, but that's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of potential issues, we're going to try to kind of do a soft launch. So, if it's out now, like, and you're listening to this podcast, or like, if it's up by the time this podcast comes out, like, those of you interested in pre-ordering the game should totally go and help be our testers for our pre-order store before we fully post it live and share it with everybody. So we would really appreciate it. Go check it out.
Find that at just earthbornegames.com.
Yeah, you can find it by going to the website. Yeah. I know I can hear your nervous laugh, Andrew, that and revealing to people that we're.
Yeah,
but
well,
we
it's like
greatly appreciate if you tested it out for us.
Yeah. Well, like I said, hopefully it should work. Everything should work just fine. So I think as soon as we can get a couple orders in and it doesn't explode, then it should be just fine.
It'll be fine, everyone. Yeah. Alrighty. That's that. And let's talk about the fun stuff. I mean, not that that wasn't fun, but the stuff we've been doing, playing, enjoying. I'll begin. A few months ago, I talked about this game, Dome Keeper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Have you heard any buzz about it lately?
No, is it catching some heat?
Well, I played the demo back then, but the full game. Oh, that's right. I was so into it. I even messaged you guys. You got to play this game. I got the full version came out last week, and I've been just obsessed with that game. It is a great game.
Nice.
I implore you guys to give it a try. The demo I think is still up, but it's been taking the indie internet world by storm this week. There's tons of Let's Plays on YouTube. You can watch some good stuff there and get a taste for it, but it's just such a great, unique kind of tower defense, roguelike, mining. I don't know. It's just got it all. Cool music, cool pixel art. I don't know. It's just endlessly addicting for me. I've put in like 15 hours already.
Nice. Do you know if are they doing a console version of it?
There hasn't been anything announced yet, but
well, if it's successful to the degree that you're talking about, they usually get there eventually.
Yeah, just a pixel game, and it plays really great with the controller, so it'll
Nice.
get there. Play that. There's a demo on Steam right now called Gunbrella, also a pixel art game. It's from the makers of Gato Roboto. I don't know if you saw that one at all. This 1-bit pixel art game, Metroidvania. Gunbrella is amazing. Try the demo. It's really cool. Kind of platformer. I don't know. It's unique.
It's got a great title.
Kind of side scrolly.
Yeah, you have this umbrella that serves different purposes, like a gun and an umbrella. So you can use it to kind of you can use it to dash and then dash into the air and kind of float.
I see somebody doing the Mary Poppins with it in the screenshot.
You can hang on to wires and go flying, and it shoots you off the end of it. Really fun, and then aim it down, and you can kind of pogo on it. I don't know. It's really cool. It's got a cool sense of humor and style too. So that's a demo right now on Steam. And I also downloaded Gloomhaven for free on the Epic Store because I thought I should try something like that. But I've heard it's impenetrable to get into as the video game. But I'm gonna try it. I haven't tried it yet, but
yeah, the criticism I've heard of the video game version of Gloomhaven is that it's a board game that's heavily inspired by video games. So it's already simulating a bunch of video game things in board game form. And then when it went back to a video game, it didn't become video gamey enough.
Okay.
Where it's it's a little kind of clunky is what I've heard.
Yeah.
But I haven't played it myself.
I've heard that it, there's no tutorials or anything. You just kind of have to figure it out. And I wonder if I will get into it at all. Do you like the board game? Everyone seems to like it.
Not particularly, no.
I played through a full campaign basically of the. I say basically because it's hard to 100% that game. There's a lot in there, but I played a lot of Gloomhaven with my friends. It's one of those games that I have some beef with, but there's kind of this core puzzle where each character gets a hand of cards that represent the different actions they can take, and you kind of have to manage this hand of cards and which actions you're taking. And once you use one action, it's locked out until you kind of recycle and get your hand back. And each time you recycle, you lose some of these cards, and so it kind of slowly run out of your different actions for the day, and as your character gets more and more tired, and eventually they wear out and they're done for the day. And that kind of core puzzle, that hand management puzzle, and then how it corresponds to like the little tactical puzzle is very clever and very fun. And like that core of the game is just like rock solid and very, very interesting and fun to play.
Cool.
The scenario design around it is a little weaker, and like there's a lot like I'm curious. I'll be curious to hear what you think about playing the video game, because as Andrew alluded to, there's a lot of fiddly management involved in the board game. Lots of like tokens and different stuff to like simulate those.
Well, I read that that's what
aspects.
the game kind of loses that aspect of it, and that's what makes it good.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think my beef with Gloomhaven is that so I haven't played it as much as Fisher has. I did enjoy that aspect of the game that you just described. I thought that was very cool, and as you said, it's very clever. But what I didn't like was the presentation of the game in the box, and setting it up with all those pieces. Like, you have to get a storage container for it, I think, to really make that experience tolerable. Because I played it a couple times. I was excited. I was going to play a campaign with my friends. But we kind of got stuck on like one of the earlier scenarios, and played it a couple times and didn't complete it, or were defeated. And then when we finally got it put away for the day, I think we were just like, I don't want to ever have to do this again. So it's more about the experience of the game on the table for me that turned me off Gloomhaven more than the game itself.
Yeah, I will say we got an organizer for it, and that really helped.
Yeah, it was like $100 for that thing, though. I looked into it.
It was very expensive.
It's a hugely popular game, though, right? Isn't it?
Oh yeah, very, very popular. I've heard that the Jaws of the Lion is maybe better as an introductory experience.
So it replaces the map and building the map with a book, which is excellent, because if I had to complain, I'll spend a second complaining. The map is the worst part about that game. It is the worst of both worlds. Like, in between, like, you have the games like Kingdom Death Monster or something that are just a big grid, and then you put some stuff on it, right? So it's a generic grid that you put some stuff on to customize, right? And then you have the other side of the spectrum, which is like your Descent second editions, which is every room is this beautiful custom piece of art, and like custom, and then you puzzle fit them together. But every time you build a map, you have to go find every single room and build it all. So like two sides of the spectrum. Gloomhaven somehow manages to be the worst of both worlds, where you have to go find specific pieces that only fit together in this very specific way, but then they're all generic anyway. So why did I spend all this? They're all just generic grids that you then have to lay terrain over the top of anyway. So why did I spend all this time finding specific pieces? Jaws of the Lion just throws all that out, and there's a book instead. So
that's good.
Great move.
Yeah. I should give it another shot. It's sitting on my shelf in the basement. Or maybe I should just get Jaws of the Lion.
Sorry, Andrews. We've co-opted your stuff you're into to complain to talk about Gloomhaven.
I know. I was this close to not even mentioning that at all, because I haven't even touched it yet. Anyway, okay, let's move on to Fisher.
Oh yeah. One thing, this was actually my prepared bit of banter. You asked us to have something ready to banter with you at the beginning, and then we didn't end up needing it. But I got my first tattoo like 4 days ago, last Friday. I got my first tattoo. So I guess it's going to be upside down. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can kind of see. So this is upside down, but it's like, because it's supposed to be right side up, and your arms are laying at your sides. But
right. What was that?
I guess,
what is it? Should I know what that is?
So it's a water drop.
Okay.
It's kind of like an abstracted water drop.
Sweet.
It, like, for me, there's a water drop symbol is used to kind of represent mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness. It was actually there's kind of a more abstracted version of this made by a graphic designer like 12 years ago. So it's not like appropriative or anything, but I got it like illustrated by a tattoo artist to be a little more like illustrative than that abstract symbol, because the practice of mindfulness has been really important to me in my adult life, and like it's kind of this like half a reminder and half just like a I don't know. It's a meaningful thing to me, and so I kind of wanted it present. And yeah,
That's cool.
That's good. Yeah, I like it. Can I see it again now that I know what it is?
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's great. I like it.
So yeah, it's right at the like itching a bunch stage, and you're not supposed to touch it.
Oh right, yeah.
So that's a little hard. Other fun things. I finished up painting my Necromunda warband. It lay there unpainted for like it's been sitting here next to me for months, and I finally got around to finish painting it. So it's all painted, and I've got it in this cool little. I got like this metal lunchbox, and I have it all magnetized in the lunchbox. And
Nice.
all my tokens I put in these little containers that are magnetized in there, and I'm very happy with my little like Necromunda kit that I got going.
Awesome.
In like video game stuff though, I just started playing Return to Monkey Island, the new Monkey Island adventure game, and been liking it so far. I can't say I haven't played a ton, so like maybe next podcast I'll be able to give like a full review. But so far it seems like more Monkey Island. I dig the new art style. You have snarky Guybrush Threepwood, and I haven't got into any weird obtuse puzzles yet, so we'll see how if they get as like fiddly as some of the old Monkey Island games did. But so far it hasn't been too bad.
Is it voiced?
Oh yeah.
Acted? Okay.
Yeah. I think they got the same guy to do Guybrush Threepwood. It's been like
I believe
Wow.
30 years since I played that game, so I can't say for sure.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Yeah. It
Did you
sounds
play-
like him.
You play Broken Age?
I actually never did play Broken Age.
That was, I think, if it's anything like that, because it same publisher, I assume, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh,
So
really?
Broken Age was by Double Fine,
Yeah.
Tim Schafer's studio,
Yeah.
and Return to Monkey Island is being published by Devolver.
Oh, okay.
And Ron Gilbert is back on it, the guy who was responsible for like the first two Monkey Island games.
Well, Broken Age anyway was I think a really cool return to adventure gaming that I don't think there was any puzzles in that I think that really stumped me forever. Like I eventually was able to figure them all out, so it wasn't quite as brutal as those old adventure games.
Yeah, like Double Fine is pretty good at like making their games like approachable enough. I was telling you two before the show that one puzzle that stuck in my memory, I think it was from The Curse of Monkey Island, which Andres, you pointed out is after Ron Gilbert was no longer designing for the game, right?
I think so, yeah.
Sure. But you had to get a map off this guy's back, and so the solution was to get him to go suntanning and then replace his sunscreen with cooking oil so that he would burn really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the map tattooed on his back, and so you had to replace his sunscreen with cooking oil so he burned really bad, and you could peel the map off his back, and that was the answer to the puzzle. And I was stuck on that for like weeks, and then I think my friend told me how to solve it, or maybe I finally looked it up online on my dial-up internet. But that puzzle, like I'll be on my deathbed and remember that puzzle, that stupid puzzle.
I've never played a game like that, I don't believe. Like, how does that work? Do you like approach the tattooed man and you have an inventory that has cooking oil, and then what? You just click on the cooking oil, drag it onto him? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's kind of the core loop of adventure games. You've probably seen it in other games you've played, but it's basically like...
I played a game similar, yeah. Right.
Okay, yeah. You just have like these different vignettes that are like the location you're at and your character's there, and you can click on things to inspect them in the world, and then you have an inventory, and you can click and drag your inventory items to things to each other and to things in the world to try to combine them. And if they do something will happen. Otherwise, they'll record a bunch of different dialogue of Guybrush Threepwood snarkily telling you like, I don't think that goes with that. And you've heard that same dialogue 20 times because you're stuck in combining everything with everything.
I played an adventure game on Apple Arcade called Pilgrims. I highly recommend that. Pilgrims. Check it out if you like adventure games.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that.
It's from the company that did Samarost and Machinarium.
Machinarium.
Yeah, that game was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's got kind of that same kind of like art style. Oh, this
Yeah.
looks cool. And your inventory is little cards at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, and you like combine the cards and you can hand them to the. There's no dialogue at all. I don't think. No words. Cool, silent
that's
adventure
cool.
game. Yeah. All right, Andrew Navarro, what have you been into? Sir?
Well, same thing I'll be into for the next several months. Just more football. Watching a lot of football as I do
game?
during football season. I did watch the morning game. It was a little bit weird watching football that early.
Yeah,
but the Packers are on this Sunday in the morning, so I'll be up for that.
I got those fans there. I was watching with my dad, and are they people in England who are like really big Vikings fans that are English, or what do you think?
Well, when you look at the mix of people in the crowd, like you'll see some people in Vikings gear, and like so the Vikings were playing the Saints. So you see some people in Saints gear, some people in Vikings gear. I feel like some people probably came over the ocean just to like, hey, let's go on vacation to London, and we'll also go watch the game.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some Vikings and Saints fans there, but most of the people in that crowd are all just wearing this like random jerseys of NFL things like throughout.
Oh, yeah.
And the crowds are just as exuberant for one team's touchdown as another.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're essentially just cheering for everything all the time. And there's always this kind of like low rumble of cheering that's going on throughout, kind of like if you watch like a soccer match, like a Premier League game or something. There's always this like din that's constant that just kind of like flows, and it's very similar. It's weird. It was
weird. I found it fascinating though.
Yeah.
It's really curious about what was going on in those people's minds.
On the like international games aspect, like the NFL playing these games over in Europe. One of the listeners on our Discord actually responded and works, continuing our listeners working in interesting, relevant fields.
Yeah.
He works in sports and posted the announcements from the NFL about expanding into the European market and what the rationale was behind that. So if people are curious,
all right,
he shared it on the podcast channel of of the fan Discord.
Oh, cool.
So this will be the Packers' first time that ever playing in London. I think last time I said I thought they were playing in Germany, but they're not. They're playing in London. But this is also the first time ever that there will be two teams playing against each other that both have winning records. In London ever.
Okay.
Which is pretty crazy because we're like 20, like this is maybe like the 24th game in London, something like that.
Oh wow! So it'll be a good one, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, or they'll all be just jet lagged. Yeah. So watching football, I also played a bit more Mass Effect this weekend. That's still fun. I've been enjoying Andor so far. Star Wars Andor, 4 episodes in at the time of recording, and so far it's still all right. I think there was maybe a couple somewhat off-kilter things in episode 4 that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but so far so good. It's not bad yet. So hopefully it'll keep going.
How many episodes are there total?
12, I think.
Oh wow, that's a really long series relative to what they've been doing before.
Totally, and I think that's one of the things I appreciate about it so far is the pace is relatively slow, where it gives time for characters to develop. I mean, so you can actually learn about them. It's very different from any other Star Wars series so far, but I think fits within the aesthetic that they created for for Rogue One. So if you liked Rogue One, you probably would like Andor, I would imagine. And then been watching the Lord of the Rings films with my kids. So we
Extended
watched
or regular edition?
we watched the extended edition of Fellowship of the Ring because that's the best one. But then the standard edition of Two Towers and Return of the King, and we watched one each Friday night. So we finished up with Return of the King. Man, those movies are so good.
Oh yeah.
It's just so good. Like
yeah.
Return of the King has all those endings, but
Yeah.
I heard this somewhere else. I don't remember exactly where, but it has like 5 endings, but it earned every one of them. Yeah, just man, such a phenomenal film, and I just love the character arcs in it. Like there's awesome heroic moments. Sam's heroic moment at the end when he picks up Frodo is just, it's so good, and the music is so good. Sound design is just fantastic. Everything's good. That movie's so much fun.
Do you feel like
even the things that are goofy are fun? What's that?
Do you feel like the effects hold up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they definitely do. I think some of the massive stuff of the armies, the massive technology, looks a little.
Yes. I started it the other day to watch it again, and immediately there's like battles right in the beginning, and it looked really dated to me. But I should keep going.
It's not enough to ruin it at all.
No,
I don't think.
Just the kind of the cinematography of the time, you can tell like when it was made. And then I started wondering, when are they going to do this again? It's about time, according to like today's,
I wish so. I was telling Fisher about this. I wish they had just done that for the series instead of doing
instead of Rings of Power, instead of doing the
do a TV series
way in the past thing.
Yeah, I wish cool. Yeah, I wish instead of doing Rings of Power, which I did not enjoy the first episode at all, and I'm not watching. It's instead of like trying to recreate this thing or like updating Lord of the Rings or trying to fix Lord of the Rings or whatever they're trying to do to that thing. I wish they just would have told the story again. And give it time to breathe, because there's so much stuff they cut out of those books. It would have been interesting to see them try to reincorporate all that and tell it again.
Right. I think I would be interested. I'd be interested to eventually see, some other director's take, like a very director-driven version. Like kind of like think what Christopher Nolan did when he did Batman, right? Like he brought a very kind of like fresh take to Batman.
Yeah.
I would love to see like a director with like a very strong vision come into Lord of the Rings and do it in a way that we haven't seen before. Because like I love Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and I think it's phenomenal. But like if you think about the way Lord of the Rings has just been presented in general, like think about like all the different cover arts that the books have had. Mm-hmm. You could approach that story with a very different tone. Mm-hmm. And like movie style, and tell the same story in a very different, evocative way. And I would love to see that one day.
Zack Snyder's Lord of the Rings.
No.
It's all in slow motion and posterized.
So that brings us to our question of the week. In the comments, tell us, who is your dream director of the next Lord of the Rings? And who do you want to see playing Frodo?
That's a great question. I'm not really care about the actors as much. Like I'd prefer to see just a cast of nobodies.
That's true. That would be nice. Yeah, I don't want to see.
Yeah, but who's your director? Who do you want to direct new Lord of the Rings? I like that question, Anders.
Yeah.
P.T. Anderson. I don't know. I can't think of any. Someone super weird. What would
Wes Anderson? You do an interesting job of that.
That would never work.
That totally would work.
That parody video has to exist on YouTube, right? Wes Anderson does Lord of the Rings.
60s psychedelic music. Yeah. That would have a great soundtrack, I'm sure, at least.
Yeah, it would.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us once again. And thank you guys for talking. And reach out to us, ask some more questions, and don't forget to comment on your dream director. All right. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.